via live stream. We thank you for Brother Hogan and the work that he and the folks at Mount Dora are doing, and we pray, dear Lord, whatever we can do to help support them, we will do so. We pray, dear Lord, as we think about the plans that you have for us, that all of us need help along the way. We pray that we can be a blessing to others. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here today with you all. It's been a while. I've been here a couple of times in the past, but it's been a few years, so it's always good to get back. And we appreciate congregations like St. Augustine and their support for what we do. I'm going to talk some this morning about Mount Dora. A lot of you are very familiar with this. Some of you may not be as familiar with what we do, but we're really not too far away from here, about 2 hours, down the road. Mount Dora is just this side, north of Orlando. So if you're going down Central Florida, in fact, I always tell people, especially if families, if you come down sometime, bring your kids to Orlando or grandkids, call us and make a scheduled tour. We'd love to show you around our campus. So we enjoy doing that. Besides, it gets us out of the office. We've got a golf cart. That's a lot more fun to drive people around campus in the golf cart than sitting in the office. So help me out. Call and get me out of the office one day. That'd be appreciated. But we do thank to the again, congregations like St. Augustine, because we can't do what we do without you. We feel like we're kind of an extension of you. We're a partner with the local church community around the state. And so it's very important to have your support. We have about, I think it may be on another slide, but about 200 churches that support us in one form or another, stretching pretty much from Dade County all the way up to Nashville, Tennessee. So we got a wide range of churches that help us out. I know we got some guests in Georgia. Yes, we have a few churches in Georgia, too, that help out the children some here. Just look at this photo here. This is not in my presentation necessarily, but there are 3 girls there that came up through our dorm program, and all 3 of them are in college right now. So I feel really good about one. The one closest to the house dad there, I guess on your right side, that young lady there with the jean skirt, she's at Faulkner University, going to a Christian school. The other 2 are in state colleges. But I guess the bottom line is none of them would be where they are now if they had not come through our program. And so we're grateful for the progress they've been able to make. We have a few issues with the slides. The next one is one of those where it didn't come through quite right. There's supposed to be more on there than that. I'll tell you what, you got a great crew back there. Steve and James helped a lot before church trying to get this fixed. There's just a corruption issue somewhere with the slide. These things happen. But this slide is about the upcoming Jacksonville benefit dinner. How many of you have been to this at some point in the past? No, several members here have. Okay, good. We'd love to get more of you here this year. It's going to be April the 5th. So I believe that's 2 weeks from last night. I believe it's a Saturday, April 5th. So it's not far away now. And Les has tickets back there. We apologize. There was a little issue with our mail came back to us, undeliverable. We had an issue, I think, on our end with the address we put on it. And so we didn't have tickets to you as early as we hoped. But Les does now have tickets for the dinner if you'd like to sign up. And you can also sign up online as well. Just go to our website. And actually on the back of the tickets, there's a QR code. So if you want to do that, say, I don't want to fill out a ticket and a stub and all that, just flip it over, use your phone, do the QR code thing, and you can sign up right then. You don't have to have a ticket. So that's what that slide's about. So it's April the 5th at 5:30 p.m. at UNF, which is not too bad a drive from here to get to the UNF campus in Jacksonville. As I said, for those of you who maybe aren't as familiar with who we are and what we do, we've been around since 1945. We are a Church of Christ affiliated children's home. Have a beautiful 70-acre campus. Central Florida is kind of that rolling hill kind of country, at least by Florida standards. Maybe not by Georgia hill standards, but by Florida standards. We've got some nice terrain down there. And so it's a beautiful campus, just a few blocks from downtown Mount Dora, which is a kind of a touristy town, if you're not familiar with it, on a pretty lake. There's some nice pontoon boat tours, and there's Mount Dora is also known for its antiquing. So it's a nice little place to come and to spend the day. And while you're there, of course, take a tour of our campus. So we'd love to have you. We are overseen by a board of trustees. All of them are members of the Church of Christ. Dr. Sam Smith came to be our newest president last summer, so almost finished a year with us now. He was formerly president up at York University. Keep wanting to say York College, but it's now York University in Nebraska. And I joke with people that, they say, how did you get a college president to come be in charge of the academy and children's home? Well, it's easy. We recruited him in January because it was in Nebraska. It was easy. So he'd take any job to get out of Nebraska. Now, I'm kidding. But he's a really good guy, very personable. I think you'll enjoy meeting him. Unfortunately, he has a conflict on the night of the Jacksonville dinner. Will not be with us that night, but hopefully you'll get a chance to see him at some point. We've been blessed with good leadership over the years. Those of you who are a little more old-timers, remember James Moore was our president for almost 30 years. He's retired now, but he's still very active in working for us, so to speak, because he just believes in the ministry. And we appreciate him. He calls us often and says, I was just talking to somebody, and they want to donate or help support us in some way. So James is just a great guy. There are several ways. A Facebook page, so that's an easy way to keep up what we're doing there. So if you're into Facebook and want to just go Mount Dora Children's Home, you can follow us there. There's also a separate Facebook page for Mount Dora Christian Academy, so make sure you get the one for the children's home. And then we have an email newsletter. If you'd like to join that, if you're not already on it, it comes out once a month. And of course, it's free and you can cancel anytime. Just hit unsubscribe. But we'd love to have you on the email news list as well. So you can see me if you want to later, or again, go to our website. You can sign up for that. But just give me your name and email address, and we can get you signed up there. Let's see. Just to kind of walk into what we're going to talk about this morning, we emphasize very much we're a spiritual ministry. We look at what we do. Yes, we're caring for children's physical needs, and that's really important. These kids need that kind of help. But we also are there, of course, to be a spiritual guide and to point these kids to Jesus and to the Bible. And so we take that very seriously. And we get inspiration, of course, from looking at how Jesus loved and cared for children, didn't he? And I think we can all learn something from this story from Mark 10, where Jesus was moving along the road. He was very busy, had his agenda to follow, and his disciples were trying to keep the crowd away. And these kids were following along, and disciples were kind of shooing them away, Jesus is busy today, but Jesus stopped in his tracks pretty much and said, no, bring the kids to me. And then he put the kids in his lap, blessed them, and spent time with them. And what a great example for all of us, to think about who are the children in our lives that we can influence. It might be our own family, children, grandchildren, whatever, but it also might just be kids here in the church, right? Those little kids that come running by, sometimes you say, oh, they're going too fast. Maybe you just need to bend down and give them a little love. So we all have kids that we can be a positive influence on in some form. And so we like to think that's what we try to do there, is to love on families and children. And this is a verse we often share, particularly we have a single parent program I'll tell you about in a few minutes. And we like to share this with the single moms about what a blessing it is to have children and what a opportunity it is for you to influence these children for God and for good, and to teach them faith and values. And so we use verses like this from Psalm 127. Children are a heritage from the Lord, offspring a reward from him. What a beautiful verse. And then, as I said, we do have the single parent program. It's mainly single women. We have had one single dad in all the years we've been doing this, but we take inspiration too from how much time Jesus spent talking one-on-one with women, and that wasn't normal so much in that day. Particularly, we had examples of talking to a Samaritan woman, and it wasn't something Jewish men generally did. But Jesus had compassion for individual people, and even when they had difficult past, they had sins in their life, they had difficulties in their life, Jesus still related to them one-on-one, valued them as a person, and I think that's a great inspiration for all of us. So what do? Well, we have a residential group care, which is what you generally think of as the dorm program, the house parent model, where you have a bunch of kids in one house. We have a home for teenage girls, middle school, high school age girls with house parents. In fact, that first picture we show, that was from that dorm. Those were the house parents in that example. So that's, of course, been what we started with back in 1945, and it's still going today. But a lot of things have changed, which you don't have time to fully unwind this morning. And that model doesn't work as well these days as it did in generations past for a variety of reasons. And the single parent program, which we started, think about, may tell you somewhere 13 or so years ago, has become our dominant ministry now. And the interesting thing about that is, yes, I said, well, you're getting away from children. Well, actually, I started there 11 years ago, and we have more kids on campus now than when I started. When the single parent program was kind of in its infancy. And so we actually have more children, not less, as a result of this, because the single moms typically bring in 2, 3, 4 kids per mom. And so we have a bunch of kids on campus as a result of the single parent program. Now I'll talk a little more about that in detail in a minute. And then we try to provide what we call kind of the catch-all off-campus assistance, the miscellaneous category. But that can include things like, helping our children as they go through college and the adult years. We don't officially, legally have any obligation to them once they graduate from high school. We say goodbye, have a nice life. But we don't do that. We want them to know they're our family. They still belong, they belong on our campus. They're welcome on our campus. So we have, the young lady I mentioned, Claudia, which I think I have a slide on her later, but who's at Faulkner, she comes back on Christmas breaks, summer breaks, and stays on our campus. And she has biological family that she could go to, but she knows she's more loved by us. And this is kind of the reality, as good or bad as it is. But so we try to be there for the kids, provide assistance for them. We're still providing some financial assistance for her. And probably the other girls are in college right now, too, from the dorm program. And so we try to be there for the kids any way that we can. We're in our 80th year actually right now, 1945, 2025. So during that time, more than 1,200 children have come through the program. About 60 single moms have come through. I should say single parents because there's one dad. His situation, by the way, this shows how we try to be flexible in these things. There's not really any one stereotype of who these single parents are and how they came to us. The single dad situation had. He was married, had 2 young children, and his wife was killed in an accident at work. So totally unexpected, just totally knocked him off his feet. He had no idea what to do with these kids and how to raise them. Was just totally distraught, of course, and grieving on his own. So he came to us, got counseling support. The kids, of course, got professional counseling while they were with us, and a lot of love and support. We put the kids in our Christian academy. And he's thriving really well now. Of course, he finished the program some time ago, has remarried since, and the kids are doing well. So we, it's a flexible program. Needs can be different for each family, but it's a good program. I was mentioning Claudia earlier. There is actually a picture of her, how lives are being changed through the program. And that's one of our social workers, by the way. And this illustrates a point, too, how we help these kids. If you have children who've gone to college, know what the FAFSA is. It's a fairly complicated, detailed financial report you have to do when you're sending your kids to college. And it's a pain. Well, we do FAFSA for most of these kids, and we take them on college tours. Ellie, the social worker, took Claudia up to Faulkner, spent a couple of days with her up there, made arrangements with the admissions people to show her around and talk about financial aid, all those kinds of things. And so we'd go that extra mile and help these kids. And by the way, she was also considered military. And, it's her life, her dream. So at the time when she was in high school, we helped her explore that. Talked to the military people. What can they offer for her? And so we help the kids have a better future than if they had not. Because honestly, someone like Claudia, no one would have filled out that FAFSA for him. She wouldn't have known what to do, and she probably wouldn't have gone to college. Don't know what she would have done. And when I talk about single-parent families, sometimes people say, well, who are these people? Well, our society now, what might call non-traditional families, of which single parents are one type, is more and more common. I bet a lot of you maybe are in non-traditional families now. I don't know, but you certainly have relatives, you have friends who might fit these categories. Those who are kind of long-term single people, maybe never married or not married for a long time, single again, divorced, widowed, different categories. The single-parent families, like we minister to, step families. There's all sorts of different arrangements. A lot of custodial grandparents. Some of you might fit that category where you're a custodian for a grandchild. That's become more and more common. So, the old Ozzie and Harriet model that we like to think at one time everybody was a normal family with a mom and dad, 2 kids at home, and everybody was clean and smiling. I don't know if that was ever really reality anyway, but it was on TV and kind of became what we thought of as the norm. But I'm not sure life has ever been that clean and neat in any generation, but certainly it isn't today. So we have more and more of these single-parent families. And yet it's really not new at all. If you look at even in the Bible times, Ruth and Naomi, it's a non-traditional family, isn't it? Not what you normally think of, because she, of course, was widowed and went to live with her mother-in-law. And so families can come in different sizes and arrangements. So our single-parent ministry is a 2-year program where they come and live on our campus. We provide them with a house or an apartment, depending on the size of the family, and pay for their utilities and rent and all that while they live with us. And then again, we have social workers assigned to them and their children. We have professional counselors available to come on campus and meet with the kids or the moms. Almost all of them come with some sort of trauma. They're there with us because something bad's probably happened in their life. They've been abandoned, they've been abused, different things have happened. And so there's some trauma there that has to be worked through. So we're there to provide all that professional help for them, as well as helping them with I guess what you might call the physical needs of food and shelter. The kids get to go to our Christian Academy, which I'll talk a little more about on a later slide. It's a wonderful academy. And then we try to help with the single moms. Each single mom is assigned to a specific social worker, and they have to come up with kind of a game plan, what they're going to do when they get out and how, so you got 2 years here in the program, rent-free and all that. Take advantage of it. Do something with your life. And so we help them either complete a degree program or go through a tech school or state college program, get some sort of skill that they can then use to their advantage. And so we try to help them that way. Now, from our point of view, too, the single-parent program model, versus the old dorm children's home model, actually has a number of advantages. For one, we get a chance to work with 2 generations at one time in the family, right? In the dorm situation, generally, we're only working with the kids, not with their biological family, whoever that might be. In this case, though, we're working with a single mother and with her children at the same time. And they all, of course, are required to go to church. The kids are getting fed spiritually at the academy as well as at church and youth group and all those sort of things. And we have a great local church there in Eustis, Florida, next door to Mount Dora, that has a full-time youth minister, active children's program. So the kids get a lot of opportunity there. We make sure all the kids in the program get to go to summer, a Christian camp for the summer, do things like that. If they want to go on a mission trip, we've had some high school kids go with our local church group to Jamaica or other places, for mission trips. And then it keeps the family unit together, which is certainly a plus, right? You're keeping a mom and her own kids together. We don't need house parents. The kids come with a built-in parent, a mom, that's going to be there for them. And, house parents these days are really hard to find and keep. It's kind of one of those jobs nobody wants. And those who are willing to take it, a lot of times don't stay because they get shell-shocked. It's not an easy job. It's a 24/7 job. Imagine kids who have, it's not that they're bad kids, but they've been damaged, so they got trauma, and they act out. We would too probably if we'd gone through what they'd gone through at their young ages. So these kids take a lot of love, a lot of patience, a lot of discipline, and you go get yelled at, shouted at, probably cussed at by these kids. It's just, the backgrounds they've had. And so it's not a job that many people can handle, being a house parent. And so if getting parents that will stay more than a year or two is tough. And that's true all the children's homes across the country. If you look in Christian Chronicles, the publication some of you may be aware of, it's kind of the newspaper for Churches of Christ. Look at the back sometimes, the classified ads, how many children's homes are looking for house parents. So with a single parent program, that kind of eliminates that problem. We don't have to recruit or, by the way, pay for house parents. So that's an advantage. And we actually are having a better track record of success with this program than we have in the past. So we're grateful for that. Let's see, I think I just mentioned that one. This is an example of one of our single moms that came through fairly recently. She's been out maybe a year and a half now. And Melissa was 19 when she got married a slightly older military guy. And he did overseas tours, so he wanted her home when he was home. And so she did not work outside the home and took care of the kids. You can see they had quite a few kids, I think 5 in that picture. And so that went on. They were married 12 years. But he came back with, I guess, PTSD type issues, whatever, from his tours. Each time got a little worse. His last tour he came back, he was quite changed, quite different, and wound up leaving the family. He abandoned her. And so she not only lost her husband, she had no way to support herself. She only had a high school diploma, that's it. Had 5 kids, what are you going to do? And making matters even worse, where were they living? They were living in military supplied housing. She couldn't stay there anymore either. So they were literally on the street when they came to us. Well, Melissa was a smart mom and knew that she had to have a job that she could make some real money at. She went to tech school and became an HVAC technician, air conditioning and heating system. She was hired by a company in Orlando. They had 29 techs. She was the only female. It's not a job females normally go into. But she said, I can't work, as a greeter at Walmart. I got to make some money. I got to support these kids. So she got hired, and we're happy to say after her first year of the job, she was named Rookie of the Year at her company. So she's doing really well. She's making good money, and she's moved on, graduated from our program. Sheena was also very industrious and ambitious for her family. They had never had a home. They'd always lived in apartments or government, housing, and before coming to us. So she got training. I believe she was in early childhood education or something like that. Something to do with working with children and education. And so she completed a degree or training to do that. And when she wanted a home, that was kind of her dream, to have a home for her kids. And my children had never had a backyard to play in. They never had a swing set of their own. And so she went through Habitat for Humanity. And again, we helped expose her to that opportunity. We have someone from Habitat often come in and talk to the single moms about what they can do. And she took it to heart. And, as you know, if you know anything about that program, you don't just get handed a house. You have to work for it. And you have to put in some sweat equity. You got to pick up a hammer and help build your own home. And so she did all that, and her kids helped. And they now have their own home. And she's just, her smile is from here to here, that she had a permanent place for her family. So we're proud of Sheena. I mentioned we have an academy as well as the children's home on the same campus. Now, donations from churches always go to the children's home only. We get asked that question sometimes. But I can tell you they work hand in glove together. It's really good that they're on the same campus. And I think we're somewhat unique in that. Most children's homes don't have their own school, so they got to take the kids somewhere else or do some kind of a homeschool model. But we have a full academy, more than 800 students at the school from pre-K through 12th grade, so it's a good-sized Christian school. And this provides a good foundation for our kids in academics and otherwise. It gives the kids, too, a different view of what their future could be. Because most of these kids don't come from an environment where they've been around other children, other young people who have aspirations for after high school. For one, they're going to stay and finish high school. A lot of their peer group in the past probably didn't finish high school. So when they come to us to get put in this academy, they're among kids, most of whom want to go to college and make something of themselves. And that peer influence is good, for our kids too. So it's a good environment to put them in. And we're really proud of the academy. Let's see, I got another slide on it here. So we have daily chapel for the children. at all grade levels. If you want, by the way, if you ever come for a tour on a school day, something that's really fun, go sit in on the preschool chapel program. That's a lot of fun. We have a really cute preschool building too. But watch those little kids at the chapel. It's neat. And then we have well, not daily, but we have Bible classes at every grade level. So no matter how young you are, or if you're in 12th grade in high school, you take a Bible class. And so that's really important, we think, to do that. Having the influence of Christian teachers and coaches can make a huge difference in these kids' lives, especially from the Children's Home program. So if you think about it, think about a single mom coming in with a couple of young boys. They may not have had a good male role model ever in their life, and having a Christian coach work with them can be a huge influence on them for good. And so that's a blessing. And we have, by the way, a number of our kids go on to college scholarships and athletics. And so, and again, having access to helping them get ready for college, the guidance, counseling, et cetera, they would need to be successful there. Okay, I don't know. No, that graphic didn't make it. This shows who supports us and kind of where our money comes from. I don't remember all these statistics off the top of my head, but I know about the largest category of our donations, and I may have another slide on this a bit later, but actually it's from estates. A lot of people, good Christian people, will remember us in their will or trust documents, and we receive money from estates. So that actually is more than we earn from all of our benefit dinners and church contributions combined. But it all adds up. That's a pie chart there. I know you can't read it. But, these individual donors, of course, like some of you that may donate to us that way, church contributions, benefit dinners, a number of different categories where our funds come from. And then, how they get split gets broken up kind of like this, but it's really kind of hard to separate some of these items as to explain what they are. But 53% we estimate well-being of the children and single parents, the physical expenses, housing, food, insurance, health care, those sorts of things. And then the spiritual and educational development, again, comes in helping the kids with camp and going to youth rallies, mission trips, but also going to the Christian Academy, being involved in church in different ways, and then housing, maintenance, and utilities. So that's the kind of broad categories how the money gets divided up. We do need help from people in a variety of ways. And this congregation, I was just talking to Les before church about our Change for Children program. I think he's got some cans we'll be putting out before too long on that as well. But it's a simple program where you just take a little coin can home with you, keep it. I don't know how you all do it here, but typically it'd be 8 to 10 weeks, and there'll be a day when everybody brings them back. And so it's an easy program. A lot of people say, well, I don't keep that much change anymore. I don't use change much. That's fine with us. That little slot in the top, if you fold a dollar bill, it fits in there really nice. And larger denomination bills, by the way, fit just as easily in that slot. And the slots, the old cans, you couldn't pry the top off. The new ones are plastic tops. You can just pop it off if you want to put a gift card or something in there. That'd be great too. So whatever, maybe, I don't know, a title and keys to a vehicle, whatever. But so that's the coin can program. And so we appreciate anybody who wants to do that. A lot of times children, by the way, it's a way you get children kind of engaged and involved in helping other children. Use one of these with your kids at home or even in children's Bible classes. Every church does it a little differently. For those who are working age people, find a lot of times the easiest way to donate to a cause like ours is through monthly giving. So you probably, if you're like most of us during your working years, you don't have lump sums of cash laying around that you can, just go write a $5,000 check to Mount Dora Children's Home. You can't do that. But you might be able to give, $50, $100, whatever per month and help out in that way. And so consider that as monthly giving. And then also say too, if you're not able to help us financially at all, can you pray for us? We appreciate prayers, and I really mean that sincerely. We want to be a spiritual program. We want to be a good influence on these kids going forward. And so we need your prayers. And it really helps to know that you're out there and praying for us. And again, depending on your background, I don't know all of you, what your family situations are, but I'm sure we're talking to someone that has a special connection with kids who've grown up in bad homes or tough homes and have had bad backgrounds to overcome. Maybe you want to pray for those kids. Maybe you've been have a family member who's a single parent, and you know how tough that road can be. Or a woman that was abandoned by a spouse, or has a spouse with addiction problems or whatever. And so, pray for the single moms. Or, of course, we always appreciate to just pray for our staff, pray for our social workers, our teachers, coaches. They all need your support as well. And so we definitely, if you don't have money to give us, we appreciate your prayers. And come to our benefit dinner too. It's an encouragement to us to see a crowd there. It really is. And we'd love to see new faces. So if you haven't been to the dinner before, we encourage you to consider doing it again. I think that's a skip slide. Let me go to this one here. I mentioned before about estates, and I'd like to encourage, I actually have a different talk I give just on this topic, about a 45-minute talk I can come and give another time if you like. But with estates, what I'd like to encourage every Christian, everybody, if you're an adult, you have an estate, you have something, you have a car, you have a house, you have bank account. Everybody has an estate, so we should have a will or trust, whatever, some kind of estate planning documents to designate what's going to happen to all that when you pass. And so that's what we call plan giving or estate planning, for charitable purposes. And it would be great if all Christians would give a portion of their estate to a Christian cause. Now that could be right here at the St. Augustine Church of Christ. It could be to, a Christian college. It could be wherever. There are lots of good causes out there in our brotherhood. But I can tell you, all of them could use more resources to do their jobs. We're not a particularly wealthy brotherhood, even compared to some other church groups, and it's all very appreciated. As I said at the Children's Home, I don't know what we would do without the estate funds that come in from year to year. It's our largest source of revenue, which is kind of surprising, but it is. And what we find too, if you think about giving through an estate, and again, whether you're giving to us or whatever Christian cause is on your heart, that's fine. But just consider to talk about that if you're married, talk about, if you're a spouse. Think about maybe talk to your financial advisors or legal advisors of what you could be able to do. But here's the thing too. Remember I was saying earlier, a lot of us never in our lifetime can write a big check to charity. You might wish you could, but you can't. That's just reality. A lot of people are never wealthy enough to do that. But you know what? Through your estate, most people can give a much larger gift than they can during their lifetime. After all, you don't need any of it anymore, do you? After you pass, you can't take it with you. There's no bank accounts, in heaven that you can transfer your money to, and so it's all going to stay here. And so, yes, you might want to remember, family, children, etc. That's all good. We're not saying to disown anybody that you want to leave donation to, but could you give 10%? Could you give something, to a Christian cause? I think that could make a huge difference. Just imagine everybody in our churches, around the country decide to do that. We just kind of made that a real emphasis. We want every Christian to have a will and to remember a Christian cause of your choice in that will. Wow, what we could do over a generation ahead. The baby boomers, I think the figure seen floating around is around $38 trillion that's going to pass when all of us baby boomers are gone. That's a lot of money. It's an unprecedented amount. No generation before us has ever had that much money. And so that money's going to pass to the next generation. And I'll get off on a little bit of a tangent here, but you remember the story where in Ecclesiastes, where Solomon's talking about the kind of the vanities of life, and one of the things he mentions is the meaningless, so to speak, of I work and toil all my life, and I leave my money to someone that who knows if they'll be wise or foolish. Imagine, you remember that story? From Ecclesiastes? But it's something to think about. A lot of times, if you have family or children, you might think, they really couldn't manage. If I gave them money, it'd be the worst thing I could do for them. Everybody's situation is different, but even sometimes we find people with kids don't necessarily want their kids to have the money or certainly not to have all of it because they don't know if they would handle it well. And perhaps the kids don't even share your values. And so they're not going to use the money in a wise way. If you give to a Christian cause, you have a good chance it's going to be used well. There are other ways, though, in what we call kind of comes under the umbrella of plan giving. Retirement income, if you're a retired person, you got savings that you want to invest to make more income off of. There's a form of an annuity. You may have heard that term for retirement purposes. Charitable gift annuity, where you can leave money to a charity and receive monthly or quarterly income from it for the rest of your life, guaranteed basis. So there's ways to get retirement income and still help a charity. If you have an IRA account and you're age 70 or over, there's some nice benefits that go with that, where you can give money to charity. So our tax code has a number of ways that you can really designed to encourage people to give to charity, because they give you tax benefits for doing so. You may know, those of you who have individual retirement accounts, now not Roth accounts, but the traditional type, that if you take money out, it's fully taxable. No matter what your age is, you always have to pay tax. And when you get to a certain age, there's something called the required minimum distribution, where you have to take money out. The IRS gives you an amount. You must take out this amount, this year from your IRA account. Well, if you give that money to charity from your IRA instead, it counts as your RMD. You're off the hook, no tax to pay. So there are a number of ways you can kind of use the tax law to your advantage and help out a local church or charity. For instance, I don't write checks or give online to my church anymore. It comes right from my IRA administrator. From the IRA administrator, it gets mailed to the church treasury. I check once in a while to make sure the church is getting the checks, and just to be sure, and they do. But it's an easy way to give, and it's more tax advantageous for me to do it that way. This slide, again, is a corrupted slide that we couldn't quite get to work for us, but it's about the benefit dinner. So we're encouraging you, if you have a chance, sign up, get tickets for Les from the office this coming week. We do need to know by next Sunday if you're coming, so we can give the caterers a head count. So be sure to let Les know as quickly as you can. April the 5th at UNF. Love to have you there. And again, if you are coming down to Central Florida for any reason, we love visitors on campus. Just do check with us ahead of time. Unfortunately, in this day of school security and all, back in those days, you could just kind of pull up on campus and wander around. Can't do that anymore. You'll get stopped by our security team. We have a really, really good security team that's led by a retired New York City police officer, and she's pretty sharp. She can be sweet and kind if you're nice to her, but she can be pretty tough if she thinks you're up to something bad. I got stopped one time riding my bicycle through campus. They didn't recognize me because I was on a bike and in shorts. I said, no, I work here. It's okay. But that's good that they're that vigilant, that they didn't know who I was on my bicycle. Helmet on and all that. So come and visit us. You can call me, call our office, and make an appointment. We would love to show you around our school and children's home campus. Are there any questions quickly? We're almost out of time. Yes, sir. Oh, I've only been there 11 years. It must have been before my time. Okay. Oh, really? Okay. Yes, sir.
Single-parent families that are in this situation, how can they reach out to you if we know someone who needs help?
Hey, that's great. Let me give you my card later, and we can talk during the week. But yes, we have it's our social service staff that will kind of do an interview with them and kind of find out if we're able to help or not. But yes, thank you. Which is a very good point, too. We want to be, as I said at the beginning, a partner, an extension of your local church. We can provide some specialized services that you can't provide on the local congregational level. And so if you know of families, children, situations where we could ever be of help, please let us know. And they don't have to be members of the Church of Christ. Frankly, most of our kids and single parents that come to us are not. And we look at that as a great missionary opportunity, right, to reach out and minister to them during the time they're with us. So wherever their faith background might be, we would love to be able to talk with them. So, yeah, I'll give you my card at the church. Thank you. I think one other quick question, and I think we're about out of time. Thank you all very much. Hope to see you at the benefit dinner in Jacksonville. And I'll be around, of course, for church and afterwards if you want to talk to me individually.